it's someone serious, you have to make sure they're important, and you have to also make sure your child is important. And if it is something serious, there's times when you're going to do things together. There's times when you're going to do things separately. It's you got to find a dynamic. I remember listening to your last show. You asked the fathers, how do you deal with, hey, it's a social event going on. It's your weekend. You and the new girlfriend or the new wife. You guys want a trip. And it happens to be the weekend that you're supposed to get your child or your children. How do you handle those things? Those are things that if you kind of get out in front of them, you can kind of work it out. But those are real issues.
Yeah. Real issues, man. They just, they don't know, man. They don't know. They don't know. They don't know. Yeah.
It's very, 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 very different, brother. But I will say this: it's also after being in a situation, whether you're married 2 years, 20 years, anything that you've done, it's like a business, right? And of course, it's deeper than a business. It's like a business. You learn just as much from a failed business opportunity as you do from a successful one, if not more, right? So take what you've learned, and of course, don't make those same mistakes, as far as choosing the person, or might have been some things that you did wrong or you accepted or whatever it may be. Take those things and learn from those things and equate it to, okay, I'm parenting now. Parenting is a little different, of course, right? As a single father or a remarried father or whatever your situation may be. And just kind of think back on some of the things that, that you learn from, and just know that you're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. I use a football analogy from when I was playing ball. If you're going to make a damn mistake, make it full speed, right?
Yeah.
So if you're going to make a mistake, make it with a whole heart, and that's okay. That's okay. And acknowledge it, rectify it and move on. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. We've talked about a lot of things that are on the negative side because they could be pitfalls, and there are just things to think about. But don't be afraid to get out there because you're going to make a mistake. You're not going to screw your child up, right?
Yeah.
That's just not what we're going to do as parents. As long as you love them, you ain't going to screw them up.
That's sage. That's sound advice, man. And it's the gravity of this. All comes down to really, you're just trying to. It's what we do. It's this whole fatherhood thing. You're just trying to. You talked about, you said not making a mistake, you're not going to screw them up, but the whole thing, the effort that we put into that people don't know, they take it for granted with, mothers, but, a lot of times, but they don't think how much we put into not screwing them up and how we want to make sure that this is going to be a safe landing. Because the thing is, we're the ones most of the time, either we moved out of the physical dwelling, the house, or like in my case, if you stayed in the house, they moved. But in all those situations, 95% of the kid is with the custodial parent, with the mom. And so whether they're, irrespective of which house they're in, a new house, an old house, whatever, that day-to-day rapport is with one particular parent. So there's a little bit more comfort with that parent. So when you're dating, there's a little bit more woke, a little bit more understanding, a little bit more aware, of what's going on in that household. So you have to make sure that you don't screw them up, that you don't mess it up when you are dating, when you're bringing someone around. Obviously, you don't want anybody to physically harm them or emotionally harm them or anything. So, you have to just weigh, man, I'm separated from that woman and that child. They're together. I'm the third wheel. So when I get the child, this weekend or whatever weekend is, and if I have to bring this other person around, I have to make sure that I don't do anything, that they don't do anything that's going to make them not want to be comfortable or not want to come back, or, you're just trying to manage that thing to make sure that, like you said, that you don't mess it up, that you don't mess them up. Because they have a level of rapport and comfort with the person that they live with every day. When they get off the school bus, they're with their parent. So you got to walk on the eggshells to a certain degree, that everything you do, you want to make sure is right for those days or whatever it is that you have them, And then people just don't know that, and that spills over to dating. And so what happens when to the person you're dating, then you don't want to. Ultimately, the child is the priority, right? But you don't want to alienate them because you're trying not to alienate the kid. You know what I mean? So it's just like I said, man. Like you just said, there's just so many issues, so many layers to this dating thing when you're single and you got a kid, or really when you're divorced or you're separated and got a kid, because you're trying not to mess up this allegiance, mess up this perception that this kid and that the world has on you, because you're really the third wheel.
Yep. And let's be honest here. When you divorce and you're out of that situation, whether you stay in the house, leave the house, whatever the situation may be, you are reestablishing your relationship with your child. I don't care what you say.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you are.
So
yeah, that's true.
That is delicate within itself. So some guys just say, you know what, I'm gonna wait a while, and get this relationship, sealed and tight first.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, you don't know how long that's gonna take.
Yeah.
Right? So don't do yourself a disservice and don't put yourself on a shelf, because that could take years, or it could take months. Yeah. However, you just have to be mindful of that, when you do bring someone in, and just know that you're going to have to be patient. They're going to have to be patient, because you're dealing with a young, impressionable, delicate mind, and heart. So you have to be really, really mindful of that, and just in some instances handle it with kid gloves, and just, have someone that's going to be patient and understanding. And, I think from some of the pitfalls that I made in that process, I think you just have to be over communicative.
Yeah.
And just constantly communicate, what's going on, so that person understands, well, he's telling me everything. He's talking me through this. They may not understand it, or even if they do understand it, they will still they appreciate even more possibly that, okay, I already kind of know how this works, but he's telling me, you just have to safeguard that situation, and create your own bubble with you, the person you're dating, and your child. You have to create that bubble so that the child feels safe in that bubble with you and your mate, or whoever you decide to date.